and lazy and this girl power. We don't depend on anybody and we don't need a prince to save us. But I'm going to keep killing myself if I can't be with this dude who saves me all the time. What? Very mixed messages.
The
So I
thing.
will say Crystal
Yeah.
is based off the manga.
Crystal's
So
based off the manga, and
I could do
actually,
a brief history real fast.
Okay.
well, I will I'll
You
interject
wanna
real
go
quick
first?
before you do your
Okay.
brief history.
It's
The
very
90s version of the anime, you have so much more character development
well,
because they
it's
take their
46
time.
episodes as opposed to I think what 12.
13, yeah.
It's
Oh, there's like
46 episodes.
26 in Crystal.
Okay,
Um,
I think
I know
season
there's
1 was only 12
more.
or 13, but then season 2 is when they start with the aliens and the time travel, which
yeah.
actually I don't like. It's the one thing I don't like about Sailor Moon is the time travel. I'm like, how
Oh,
does this make sense?
it's bad time travel.
At
I'm the
least
It's
I
first.
bad.
got to giggle with
It's
them calling
bad
it the
time
time warp
travel.
because they
It's
called it
bad
time
time
warp and it
travel.
brought Rocky
Yeah.
Horror into my head and I felt a little better for a minute. I mean, it was I after the first couple episodes, I had to caffeine up. I had to like get some coffee and I asked Rob to go
So
get me a rehab. I was trying to not fall asleep. And one thing that all of the fans I know, I tried to talk to them about my experience of it so far, were like, oh, but the animation, they had to rush the first part of that season and the animation gets better and then the dub, like the second version of the dubbing is way better and those voice actors are terrible. I'm like, no, I'm watching subs, not dubs even. So like that's
Mhm.
not
yeah.
the problem I'm having. The problem I'm having is it being
So my
vapid.
my normal recommendation, if you want to get into Sailor Moon, this is the only other Sailor Moon thing I would ask you to try. And then if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's done. I will never mention it again. Is the Sailor Moon R movie? I think they released it in America and they call it like Sailor Moon R the movie Promise of the Rose. That is my introduction movie. That was like if I was dating you, I would make you watch this movie. That was like I'm only gonna make you watch one Sailor Moon thing, and it is this movie. If you hate it, we will never watch Sailor Moon together again. I still love it, but if this could, it's a movie. It introduces the characters really quickly. I like the story. It still like goes over everything without and yeah, it is very anime. The power of love will save all, and the CG animation because it is 90s CG animation. The movie came out in 93 does not quite hold up in the 2 minutes that you see it, but the rest of it's gorgeous.
My girl
Yeah.
Leah kind of recommended the same thing, and I think I am going to go ahead and watch one of the movies
Yeah,
and
when it
give that a
comes
chance. She seemed to have the
That
same kind of
movie,
like the
yeah.
movie might be a better way for you to feel for it.
When it comes to
Barney
the movies, oh, go ahead.
Barney had a lot of interesting things to say. He wanted to come on with this tonight, but he couldn't get out of work
Mm.
about the Japanese version and all kinds of really progressive things they did in it where they had a couple of generals, men that loved each other. And I guess the second
Yeah.
season
oh
or
yeah,
third season had a lesbian couple, and then they had guys that like switched genders to be
hmm
scouts. And I mean, that's really interesting. And I hope they did a better job than they did with girl power.
oh well, I can tell you the awful things that they did with it in the English because we Americans can't handle that. It's too salacious. But first, let
Yes.
me do a brief history.
Brief
Okay.
history.
Okay, so Sailor Moon was a manga series made by Naoki Takeuchi in 1991. And she wanted to do this story about girls in space, and her editors like, see if you incorporate sailor outfits because those are really cute and popular. And so, thus, the original concept was tested on August 3rd, 1991, with codename Sailor V in a compilation manga, like a monthly manga series that would have like uh little like individual chapters of different series and where you would like showcase new ones that you were trying to release. So Sailor V is all about Minako Aino, who is selected by her cat Artemis to have magical powers and fight evil. And she is a she fights evil, she does not get along with the cops, and it almost becomes its own OAV series, but instead Sailor Moon is picked up to become an animated series. So once it got clearance for that, Sailor Moon the manga started on December 28th, 1991 in Nakiyoshi, which is the phone books, the different each like a chapter of each of the mangas is released. It's really cool. I like that compilation. And that establishes Sailor Moon as the main character, and she has many relatable flaws, at least to me. She's clumsy, she sucks at school, she's very overwhelmed by like life in general. And all she wants to do, if she had her way, is sleep and eat. That's it. And I'm like, I feel you, girl. I understand this. So all the other girls are introduced, and Sailor V, who is mentioned many times as like a random public figure in the background, eventually even shows up and joins the Sailor Scouts. And each of the girls, the reason it's kind of like that is because she was inspired by the Sentai groups, by the Power Rangers, basically, to make each girl kind of an individual, and they would have their own color coordination, which was a very new thing. No other magical girl series up until that point incorporated Sentai group. It was always one chosen magical feature, magical person, magical witch, magical robot, magical whatever, and it was always the individual. They were always Buffy the Vampire Slayer in it without friends. So
Was she a
the
gamer?
fact, yes.
Okay. Because I am seeing like level ups being very obvious in Sailor Moon because she started first, levels up just before everyone else and gets new gear.
Yeah.
Yep. No, not to the point that Clamp is. Like, Clamp is another group that made Magic Knight Rayearth, and they were very much inspired by video games. And when they got their own video game, it was very.
You can see the power ups.
But yeah, power ups are
Rayearth every time.
Progressive.
But yeah,
progression.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anime started March 7th, 1992, and runs until 1997. You have 200 episodes for those 5 seasons, 3 animated movies, and 1 animated special, all about Sailor Mercury, Ame, who hands down is the most popular character because she's smart and she's just awesome.
She's smart and sweet, and
she continues like to be in the top 10 of like favorite anime girls to this day. I believe she might be in top 20 now instead of top 10, but Sailor Moon's not in the top 20. Sailor Mercury is. Let's see. Yeah, so we have a bunch of animated series. Crystal was actually the 20th anniversary series that was made specifically to follow the manga, because a lot of people were upset that the animated series has some filler and goes off on its own.
It deviates a little bit.
Season 1 is 46 episodes.
Like, yeah.
Straight off the bat. You have, I think, almost 16 episodes before Sailor Mercury shows up, who is the first one that you're introduced to of the other girls. So it's a much longer progression, but it's also it gets a lot of character development, but
still is lacking.
Just filler.
It is, but Crystal is, like, in the later episodes, is very pretty. Crystal is beautiful. It very much matches the manga style. And while the animation of the 90s version it's very 90s, it does have some very beautiful moments, and there's more there. There's
like
more
the
episodes.
Colors.
Yeah.
I do personally like the 90s version because they look more like teenage girls.
Yeah.
Whereas Crystal, they look
20s.
Like older teenage girls, like Calvin Klein teenage girls. I don't know how nicely to say it. My one gripe about the 90s anime is
it's all that shiny makeup power.
Yeah. As much as they talk about Sailor Moon being pudgy, being overweight, it's never really expressed. Oh yeah, like there's this whole thing about because she eats so much, she's actually like on the pudgy side, and like that was actually something else I kind of related to. But yeah, no, especially Crystal, it's like Where?
I would feel so much better if any of them weren't spectacularly thin and beautiful, too.
Yeah, there's not
Like
really
this
much
idea that
body
they're all
diversity.
outcasts and this was this great representation of overcoming that did not come through to me at all.
I think Sailor Pluto is the only
Oh, because she's super
diverse.
tall.
Well,
No,
she's the black one, basically.
she's got
Oh,
dark
okay.
skin.
Now, who's
Yeah.
the
She's the
super
only one who's
tall?
not pale.
Who's the super tall one?
Jupiter.
Yeah, Jupiter. The
Yeah,
Jupiter's
she's
really
super
tall is like really the only physical variance I'm seeing.
She's supposed to be the tomboy.
She is the tomboy. She's also the one with the largest
Assets.
Which is much more obvious in the 90s. But I know
Yeah, there actually was a little bit, not a lot, but there was a little bit of, don't want to call it body diversity because they're all very skinny, but you could actually tell, which ones were flat chested, which ones had a little bit more.
Oh yeah, Sailor Moon's got like supposed to be the flattest of them.
Yeah,
as far
and
as
you can
I
actually
found it surprisingly in Crystals more modest than I expected. I expected it to be a lot more cheesecakey than it was.
And I think that may come from it being written by a woman. Because Sailor Moon, there
Except
are
for the BDSM bits. Like it wasn't a lot of TNA really. It all seemed very innocent. Like, okay, they're middle schoolers, so that would be gross. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But I really couldn't help. I have a screenshot I've been sending, giggling about the Venus Love Me chain.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I will say that
go
is that is the one thing that I kind of liked about Crystal is that you can see their different weaponry, their different styles, because it can be very samey in the 90s because it's kind of Monster of the Week, but they actually have like different animations for Crystal.
So when I saw Sailor Moon, it was on UPN like weekday mornings in 1995. So I'm 14 and I've seen the ads, and for like at that point they were advertising the little dolls, and I'm like, this looks dumb. I'm way too old and awesome for this because I'm gonna be in high school. So I was not into this initially, and I think it was like over winter break or I was sick, and it came and I was like laying on the couch, and there was this whole like UPN block where like Littlest Pet Shop and Bananas and Pajamas, stuff I'm way too old for, but I didn't want to move because I felt like crap. So I'm just lying there on the couch like, eh. And Sailor Moon came on. And I'm like, oh, this is so dumb. I can't believe I'm watching this. And I watch it and I'm like, it wasn't bad. I watch it the next day and I'm like, wait, this is a continuation. It's not like DuckTales or Rescue Rangers or like anything else where it's like you saw one episode and it doesn't build off the last episode. It's just random. You can play them out of order. There's no order. Sailor Moon, there was an order. And I'm like,
so it was your first experience with something that wasn't just episodic?
with an animated show that was not, that was...
My 18-year-old is just like, he's so funny because he helped me find 9anime so I could watch it without buying into a service. And then he's like, I can't believe you're going to watch that. He's like, because he's really into anime and stuff. And he's like, I think he gave it a shot. He's like, I give X number of episodes of something to come around to it and find, value. And he's like, I think people like it because they want to be part of that club, and it's easy to, like, you've got all your color-coded thing you can attach to, or they just got into it when they were little kids, and that's why it's nostalgic. Like, they love it. Because him trying to watch it as, an 18-year-old is just like, ugh. And I was watching it more this morning, trying to get some more in and give it more of a chance, and he's like, are you watching Sailor Moon again? I said, yeah. He goes, do you have Stockholm Syndrome?
It was, But yeah, I like animation. I've always liked animation. This was also me like coming like Disney had just broken my heart with Lion King by lying to me about it. So I was kind of angry at animation in general, and I'm trying to be like, I don't need to watch cartoons anymore because now I'm going to be a high schooler, so I'm too
Ah,
old for this. But I still like it. So I watch it and I'm like, oh, damn it, now I'm into this. This reminds me of Gem. Because I used to really love Gem, but Gem didn't really have a. It
Didn't have
wasn't
an
like
over.
Passions.
I
Like
mean,
my
it's
mom
not
would
the
watch.
worst. The new
Yeah.
She-Ra, by the
Oh,
way,
I freaking love She-Ra.
the new one.
Yes, so good. I will
Oh,
fight anybody
okay.
who says
Nope.
anything bad about new She-Ra. I'll make you watch old
Holy shit!
She-Ra.
It's a lot for the same reason. So bad. It's like written by a 10-year-old.
I will make you watch
Okay.
old She-Ra, and you will appreciate new She-Ra.
It may just not be your thing.
It might not just be. Yeah,
I
that's fair too.
I like lots of animes. I like fighting animes. I like, I mean, yeah, this one isn't my thing. I like more
Yeah,
I will say,
complicated
I don't like
stories and
easy.
characters. I mean, I
I
love
Oh,
have a hard time
fucking.
with Gundam Wing or Gundams.
I'm rewatching Brotherhood.
I did like Brotherhood.
I love
Full
Gundam
Metal.
Wing. I love Gundam Wing.
Yep.
You can't. It's
I grew
partial
up with like
partial nostalgia, but
Star
partial
Blazers.
also is really pretty.
But yeah, so I got really into it, and that's actually when I started recording Sailor Moon. Because when I got better, I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna miss an episode. I think it was around the end of season 1 and the start of season 2. So they were really ramping up this whole like they're going to fight, and even though they're like in the American release, they're like, oh yeah, they're captured by the Negaverse. I'm like, no, they're dead.
No, they're dead.
They're dead.
They're
Those
so
are their
dead.
spirits. You can't fix that animation. I see what's going on here. I
They're
don't know
so
why
dead.
you're lying, but they're dead, and those are their spirits. Don't lie to me.
Yeah, that's the other plot sloppy, like the constant reincarnation thing.
Oh yeah, all the time. They are rolling in gems,
Plenty.
always
God.
reincarnated, constantly looking for love. The only real steady relationship, because Mamoru's okay, but he's really only good when he's evil. If you ask me, when he's evil, I understand the appeal. When he's good, I don't give a crap about the guy. Also, so the only good, steady relationship is Uranus and Neptune, which is the lesbian couple. And in the American release,
Absolute bitches.
they made them cousins because they
That
didn't want them to
too.
be lesbians.
But they also made
Yeah.
them. They not only did they make them cousins, and so they wouldn't be lesbians. They made them bitches. Like they made them horrible, and they're not in the Japanese version.
In season 1, the generals, Zoisite and Malachite. So it's the redhead and the white hair.
The blonde.
Are
No.
they make Zoisite a woman?
Yeah.
So it's not gay.
So it's not gay.
Oh wow.
In the American, that's what they do. Also, I will say I was disappointed they didn't do more with the generals and the Sailor Scouts, because each one of them is supposed to kind of have like a
Yeah, like in
of
Crystal, they
interest.
just kind of mentioned that was a thing that they all used to be in love with each other, and then killed the generals.
Yeah,
And
they
then they
killed
come
them
back
off.
as ghosts to coach Tuxedo Mask on actually having powers, which is another
so they have a
lazy.
live
Of course, he has to have fucking powers. Ah.
they have a live action Sailor Moon series called Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. And it is exactly what it says. It's live action. Luna is a plush cat. Like that's how they do it. And it's okay. You can watch it all on YouTube if you want. It's not officially released here. That's totally fine. But the one thing they do better is they change who becomes evil. So it's not Darien that becomes evil or Mamoru. It is Sailor Mercury. And evil Sailor Mercury is awesome. She is just badass and cool. And also they do more with the generals. It's that whole thing is so much better. And then they have Sailor Luna baby girl show up, and I really hated that part. But the generals, man. If you want good general stuff, watch that. Now, there's a whole genre of Sailor Moon that like I haven't gotten into the musicals. I've been mostly focused on the animation, the manga, the art books, which I have all of except for Infinity, and that's been my thing.
Wow.
I will say that um, that show in particular, and also Gundam Wing, influenced a lot of how I write, like when I was, or how I wrote when I was younger. Because I would write these little like episodic stories that would then build on each other as they went. So I was basically writing an anime in my head because that's what I knew. And that's like that was how I learned how to tell a story, was through, because it was at the beginning of, I think, middle school. Hi. My cat has come to say hello to me. Um so it was very I guess influential for me, because it kind of taught me storytelling. Um Obviously I have matured since then. I've added my own you know ways of telling story, but it's
Oh.
just it's something that I recognize, looking at my old writings, because I still have some of my older stuff, like
Hmm.
ancient floppy disks.
Oh, you
And I
just
just like
reminded me.
I found it a couple months ago, and I was reading through it, and I was like, ah, yes, this is very Sailor Moony. Yep.
That's what it is.
That's what it
Uh,
is.
I mean, at
so,
least it doesn't have any loose ends, but
ha,
I would have
Yeah.
preferred. I don't know.
go ahead.
Not
So-
everything can be Cowboy Bebop, okay?
Which is grade A awesome.
Yes.
But because I got into Sailor Moon, I got my best friend into Sailor Moon at the time, Ashley, and we would watch these videos that I would record, and we made our own OCs. And then we would write characters about them and exchange these notes about what our characters are doing in these stories that we would make between classes.
Fan
This is why I was
fiction.
grade A student, guys.
Fan fiction.
Yeah, but we didn't have a computer yet, so
Mhm.
this was my fanfiction.net. So she made Sailor Sun because she was a
Aw.
Leo, and all of the signs were. And I made Sailor Saturn because I didn't want to be Uranus, and because I'm an Aquarius. And before the discovery of Uranus, Aquarius used to be designated as ruled by Saturn. I'm also an astrology nerd. Eat that. But
And that was before you realized that the show had a Sailor Saturn.
yeah, we didn't know. Like all the show episodes we saw only showed like the inner five. That was all we knew. So we didn't know that there were more. And then we found out there were more. And I'm like, well, crap. I'm gotta make a new Sailor Scout because there is a Sailor Saturn. So my old, terrible, awful, 90s animation here, illustrations here is my other one, Sailor Chiron, or Chiron.
Oh
Is,
wow,
That was
So
a
pretty.
that is
You
pretty.
you're such a good artist.
Right?
I started drawing because of Sailor Moon. Like I drew a little bit before, and this show made me draw all the time because I wanted to
really
get the
good.
bright.
I still
and
can't draw
Chiron-
that good. Trying.
But
So
Chiron's the
so
name
it-
of the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt, which is why I went with that because I figured that was probably safer.
You know, I had a similar thing writing stories where we each had our own characters with a friend of mine, and we would trade our stories we had written. But our stories were actually, it was a fantasy story we were writing, but it was allegorical to our lives. Like our friends were different countries, and we would talk about the different diplomatic things and situations going on, but we made it into a fantasy story and spoke an allegory and wrote stories.
Oh my gosh, you were probably much better than Hitalia, but all I can think of is Hitalia right now.
Talia, yeah.
I don't know what that is. What?
It's
It-
another
it is-
anime.
Okay.
It's
I don't
another
know that one.
anime.
It's a it's-
Hitalia Axis Powers, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's basically personifications of countries as anime characters,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
it's
I mean, we were just
It's
being
a thing.
nerds. It's actually some of the first wood burning I did, because like a girlfriend, my best friend, got him a sword and had one of his character names engraved on it, and I wood burned a big box to keep the sword in as a gift with like a soldering iron. It wasn't even a proper wood burner.
But yeah, so that's Sailor Moon. And Sailor Moon's also responsible for my first con, which was AWA Anime Week in Atlanta 2 in 1996, where I would go on to meet some very important people that would help shape my life for better and for worse at the exact same time. I also got to meet Amy at my 16th birthday party, and we would talk on the phone because we had a mutual friend, Jeanette, and we would do three-way calls, guys. It was amazing. And we would do this, and we would just talk about Sailor Moon. And Amy showed up at my 16th birthday party, and I joke at her. She is she was my best birthday gift ever.
Aww.
Like, to this day, we still make that joke. She was my best birthday present.
And you can't say there's not that much to talk about in Sailor Moon because you've only seen Crystal. You have not seen the tiny melodramas that happened all during the 90s version.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Every episode was a tiny melodrama.
There's 200, yeah. So
there's 200 episodes.
I mean, you gotta give me some credit. I've been sticking with it. I've been watching it every day all week. And like,
I appreciate it.
Take like 16 episodes, like, oh, they're gonna see the past of one of them for 15 seconds. Oh, I feel a little better now. Like,
I actually used to make, because I had 2 VCRs, so I would be able to record stuff off television, but I could also like make copies of tapes that I own, because 2 VCRs. We didn't have computers, but we had 2 VCRs. I made a best of anime VHS that I would give to my friends who were interested in anime, and I'm like, you will like something off this tape.
That's like the nerdiest mixtape ever.
It really was. It was an episode of Sailor Moon, an episode of Dragon Ball Z, an episode of Ranma 1/2, an episode of Slayers, and an episode of Evangelion, because I got really into Evangelion.
I watched all of it, not long ago, actually.
You want to know a show I love more than Sailor Moon? It's Evangelion.
That's the kind of, I need lots of stuff going on. That's much more up my alley.
So you could drop Sailor Moon, watch Madoka Magica.
I have been told that over and over. Actually, I think
I finally watched it.
Recommended it years ago. Leah recommended it the other day when I was like struggling with Sailor Moon. Like, it keeps, and my son, when we had this discussion the other day, he's like, if you're gonna watch a magical girl one, Midori Magica is the one you're gonna like.
Yeah, it's
it's great.
Yeah,
it deconstructs the whole Sailor thing. It's wonderful. It's psychobabble. I thought you would really like the musical character, which is why I wanted you specifically, Linda, because there's musical things that I know I'm missing that I know that you would appreciate.
It was very good, and I love the big. I don't want to spoil anything for Amber if she's gonna watch this, but
but yeah,
I'm good with spoilers anyway. It's fine.
I'm just gonna say I love that character's witch form. So good.
My favorite. Like, they're all my favorite. Actually,
but yeah, just the random aside, Sailor Moon's great, but man, if you want a kind of trippy, and the visuals are just
so
stunning in Madoka Magica.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to yuck or yum. There's got to be a reason all you guys love it. I think honestly, it comes down to being too girly in too many ways for me. I'm really having trouble grabbing on. But then again, Fairy Tail. I loved Fairy Tail, and I know it's stupid as hell. I loved Fairy Tail, and Sword Art Online is another one that takes a lot of shit that I really got into. Even the second season, which has all the hate in the world on it. So, I
did make it through the first one. I haven't finished Fairy Tail. I don't think I will, honestly.
It just may not be your thing.
Yeah.
You don't have the nostalgia. You don't have the nostalgia for it.
I totally have the nostalgia for it.
Yeah,
Like, Sailor
so
Moon is responsible for giving me some of the best experiences and the worst experiences of my life.
Yeah, coming late
Like,
to having had a lot of anime before it certainly didn't help it for me.
also it was kind of one. I don't want to say it was like the first, but it was one of the first, like in the wave of anime that came into America.
it was a Touchstone thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
it
I
was,
guess if you look at it in waves, like I said when earlier, I was watching Star Blazers when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
So that was decades before.
oh yeah, and I'm like, I haven't gotten into Star Blazers. Like, I can
And you know,
watch
too.
some of Robotech.
And I've watched some of
Macross.
that recently, and it's like, wow, that's not as good as I remembered either.
And to our listeners, you know, you like what you like, when especially when it comes to anime. Like Kelly loves Evangelion. I can't stand Evangelion.
No, a lot of people hate it. Like the last 2 episodes, it's really decisive. If you like the last 2 episodes of Evangelion, then
I
That
don't.
was
you're
pretty
probably on the
trippy.
same wavelength.
I don't like the first episode of Evangelion because Shinji is a whiny bitch. I
He's
don't
a
like it.
14-year-old boy who has abandonment issues. He just needs hugs.
He needs
really,
to
he's a
cut
wounded.
his ties with his stupid father.
He's too
Anyway,
weak to do that.
Yeah.
anyway.
He needs hugs.
I just finished Parasite. Speaking of
I
anime
need
stuff.
to see that because I remember reading that manga. That was one of the ones that Mix Tokyo would go on to become Tokyo Pop and now is defunct. That was one of the first ones that they translated into English.
It was weird. It was fun. It was just kind of when we sit down and have lunch, we throw it on, and we just finished it, and it went like
It went places.
that. It had a really surprise, like it went all philosophical, like at the end, like it just all of a sudden, it kind of like Evangelion. All of a sudden at the end, it was just like this, like, did he die? Is it like this revelatory existentialist shit all of a sudden from this like fighting alien weird looking eyes coming out of your hand blade stuff? And one of my 16-year-old was like, he would go eat somewhere else if we were watching it. He couldn't handle. He was like,
Oh, the body
"Ew,
horror."
gore stuff.
yeah, body horror is really, really
I have
awful.
a friend who can't watch the animated Harley Quinn because it gets really gory,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really
Oh,
good.
what's the other Titan?
Attack on Titan.
Attack on
The
Titan.
Attack
yeah.
on Titan.
That
My
also gets very gory.
24-year-old can't watch that.
I'm actually done with it. Like I
Mhm.
got the answers I wanted because I couldn't wait, and I went online and found spoilers. I'm like, oh no, I know. I don't give a crap. I'm not
Yeah.
invested in any of these characters. I just want to know this lore bit, and now that I know, I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch a crap
Well,
ton of My Hero Academia, which is the big show I'm into.
I'm trying to think of like a random one that not a lot of people have watched that I have, and I think kind of the one that's coming to mind is there's a season 0 for Yu-Gi-Oh, and it is focused not on just the card game, but it's focused on a plethora of different games. Each episode is a different game, and it's set in this kind of alternate universe. And let me tell you, it goes from 0 to 100 on the creep factor real fast.
Hmm.
The spirit that is inside the main character is not a nice guy in season 0.
I've
It's
never
like-
watched any of those. Not
It's-
Yu-Gi-Oh, not Dragon Ball Z. I have friends who are big
Watch
fans,
Dragon
and
Ball
I've
Z
never watched any of
abridged
those.
on YouTube.
Yu-Gi-Oh, like the stuff that we see in the Americanized version, like the season 1 and such, I can give or take, leave or I can pretty much leave that. Season 0 is actually quite good. And I have watched some Dragon Ball Z. I think I gave up on it after a while just because it goes nowhere.
I tried to watch it because I dated nerd boys, and that's what they liked.
But
And
the abridged version is very good.
the abridged version is fantastic. Watch Dragon Ball Z abridged. It is hilarious, and it is great, and it's everything you need because Dragon Ball Z will literally spend. If you think there are filler episodes in Sailor Moon, oh baby, Dragon Ball Z will literally spend 20 episodes powering up my chi ball to go. That's it.
may or may
That's
not work, and it may or may not work.
I did start a new animated show last night. Devilman Crybaby.
Yes, I've heard really good things. I need to finish that. I do remember
Not for
well,
kids.
Devilman Yeah, Go Nagai is not for kids. Uh, his stuff is not.
There's a lot of animes that are not for kids.
Yeah, he is not for kids. Cuz he also did he has a couple others.
He the same
I
guy who
think
did
he did
that
Cutie
Hell
Honey, too.
one. Oh, what was it called? There was another one I really liked that was weird.
Sorry, we've deviated away
Yeah,
from
we
Sailor
deviated.
Moon.
Well, okay, I can loop this
It's
back
okay.
because Go Nagai also did Cutie Honey, who is technically a magical girl, but not from a male perspective. But she is a Cutie Honey-san, and she's a robot that turns in fights and is trying to redeem her. Something killed her dad, and she's mad about it.
Hmm.
But I like Cutie Honey also has nostalgia for me. It's ridiculous and it's very. If you want fan service with your magical girl, you want Cutie Honey. That's all I'm gonna say.
Might actually help. It does for some
Yeah.
shows.
Any
That's like
final
Fairy Tale. Huge fan service. All the fan service is in Fairy Tale.
any final thoughts on Sailor Moon? I guess.
Sorry, not my bag. I don't want to yuck your yum. I just don't
no, you're
see.
fine.
I don't get all the things it's supposed to be inspiring about. Or fell really flat for me personally.
So when I grew up, I had She-Ra, and then and that was like the closest I got. But even like old '80s She-Ra, I could tell it was bad as a 6-year-old. I'm like, it's kind of trashy.
Well, they made it purposely to sell stuff, so that didn't.
Yeah, it's like I kind of would rather be the magic hawk lady from He-Man, but okay. But like Sailor Moon was like, oh no, wait, I get this. This girl sucks. She is lazy. She is a crybaby. She is clumsy. She sucks at school. But it's like through getting these friends, and they all build each other up. Mostly initially, season 1 is building her up, but they all like come to rely on each other and build each other into better characters. And I really found that inspiring. Also, at the same time, I found Buffy, so much more empowering too.
I think I latched onto it because it was the first kind of girl show that wasn't a younger cartoon. Because I was watching a lot of Cartoon Network at the time. I was transitioning from elementary school to middle school, and I remember watching reruns of things like Transformers, and I was watching reruns of Power Rangers and things like that. And then I come home like the first or second day of middle school, and I turn on Cartoon Network, and there's this show about strong female characters, and I was like, I want to watch this. Plonk myself down. I'm supposed to be doing homework. Oh well. And
like the only other anime I knew that I was into at that time was Rumiko Takahashi stuff, so that was Lum, and Ranma 1/2, which is really kind of awkward to explain, and there's just tits everywhere. And I'm like, I'm not ready to explain all these tits to my parents or my friends or my friends' parents. I'm not ready to acknowledge that I'm bisexual because that was a really weird thing to come to terms with. Thank you, Ranma 1/2. I didn't understand what was wrong with Akane. You have the best of both worlds, woman. You get over yourself. Whatever. That's my thing. So, but yeah, Sailor Moon was something I could share to people and not feel super weird about it.
It's funny you bring up Power Rangers because it's a lot of the same for me things that it actually reminds me of Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, it's a Sentai team. It's a group of 5 people, color coded. That's exactly like the inspiration.
Which is
I got into that in middle school.
I just need more.
Green Ranger is best ranger. Because once again, I like those evil guys that get a redemption arc and become good in the end.
Say, my love of redemption arcs did come from Sailor Moon.
I like those.
Yeah, and uh, there's there's some good stuff in Sailor Moon. There's some not so good stuff, and the American version is trash. And when you find out like everything they did wrong, and you're very upset about it, because why were they cousins?
That's a shame. Well, I
It's
won't bother with the American versions. I'll take your advice.
Yeah,
I think
go for Club.
all it's getting out of me is I might finish this just for the completion.
yeah,
And
And
then
then
watch
watch a
the
movie.
90s. Watch the
Watch the
90s movie. Yep.
it's the R movie. That's the only one I
The
would
R
recommend.
movie. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called Sailor Moon R.
Yep.
Okay.
It's also Kiss of the Rose, whatever. The S movie is basically a Luna love story. So unless you want to see a cat fall in love with the scientist, you can skip it. And
I love Hacker Cat.
And then
Use the
Super
Konami code to get in the that
totally-
was one of my favorite. Like seriously, you just jumped on the video game machine in the arcade, hit the Konami code, and that's how you get the secret base. And, oh, I like up, down, left, right. Great.
The Super S movie is all about Chibiusa, which is her pink-haired daughter from the future, and like her dream boyfriend. And to me,
God, I can't stand her.
it is like that movie is like a fever dream that I vaguely remember about the Star Steel what's that show? Star Brights. Colors. Indigo.
Right?
Rainbow Bright. It's Rainbow Bright. It's this fever dream mix up of like Rainbow Bright. It's weird. I hate it. It's awful. I got really drunk and tried to rewatch that movie. I'm like, nope, this is still trash. But it was like watching the Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealers movie again. I was like,
I thought
this
that,
is
well,
awful.
okay, to be fair, I was very young at the time when I saw it, but I liked that movie.
4 or 5. Like I remember seeing that in the theater and being like, wow. And then watching that and I'm like 13. I'm like, no. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. We should wrap this up.
We should.
Sorry. Bad thing about me talking about a thing I absolutely adore. All right, so please chime in and email us at geekgrills@gmail.com. You can also tweet to us at geekgrills. Let us know your opinion on Sailor Moon or anything else that we've talked about. Do you think it holds up? Does it not? Do you like Crystal? Do you hate Crystal? Also, girls, what are you most anticipating right now?
I'm going to be running another session of my D&D card captor game on Wednesday. So that should be fun. I have a lot of elf politics that they have to deal with because that's the one they picked. Because they get to pick which card they do next, and they're like, "Let's go to the elf forest, the Cormanther." And I was like, "Are you sure?" They're like, "Yep." I'm like, "Okay, here we go."
Oh boy.
It's just they picked the hard social encounter is what they picked. So that's gonna be fun. And I want my box.
You want your box? Oh, your
my FabFitFun box.
Fun box. Okay.
I want my box.
Okay. I was gonna say, because like I'm gonna be making boxes pretty. I have boxes like Rob made a box. I have little boxes that were in the clearance shelf at Michael's when I went to grab something else. So little hinged boxes, and between burning and staining or painting or I'm not sure what, but I'm gonna make them pretty because I really like pretty space. So have the opportunity to make it and give it away. It's kind of the same thing with like jewelry making. I can get the pretty beads, but then get them the hell out by selling them or giving them away. So I'll be doing some of that. I need to source more mason jars. I've been having trouble finding anything but half pints. But there is a local pastor's wife who said she'll give me a bunch, but I'm going to have to find lids for them. I don't know. I think because everyone started a plague garden, now everybody's canning. And all I can find is freaking half pints, and I'm looking to make, some pints and quarts of salsa and my papa's hot sauce and things like that when my tomatoes come in. So I'll be doing that and maybe properly canning some pickles because I've been having cucumbers come in very fast, so I've been doing refrigerator pickles, but you can only eat so many. So I'm going to have to properly can some, I guess. I'll get the canner out of the attic. So, remember, what about you, Ray? What are you up to this week?
Oh,
Yes.
my plan is to actually maybe finish the painting or uh, my brain just evaporated. Uh, the tablet, yes, tablet art. It's basically do art and more cleaning. That's the plan, and work out more in PR because that's fun.
Yeah. Um, are we doing meeting next week, ladies?
Yeah.
All right, then.
I'm
So
for
remember,
that.
listeners, you can always come watch us record live at twitch.tv/geekgrills on most Monday evenings. Next week is going to be our production meeting, so we will see you again on August 10th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
And in addition to the subs and bits that we get on Twitch, we are supported by our amazing patrons, the greatest girlfriends on the internet. You can become a patron at www.patreon.com/grills. And don't forget, if you have Amazon Prime, you can sub to us for free every month on Twitch.
Yeah, I have to give a quick shout out to my mom. She did that. She subbed to us. So
Aw,
thanks,
Thank
Mom.
yay.
Another way you can show your support is by leaving us a review. You can do so on any of your podcast catchers. Leaving a review is free, and they help our ranking, which help other people find our podcast. And you can join our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter if you'd like to help spread the word.
All right. Well, where can we find you all on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitch and on Instagram under the name madcap_misk. I don't know what this voice is. That's MISC, as in miscellaneous.
I can be reached at 9 of 12. That's NINEOF12 on Twitter and Twitch. And you can hear me on the Heresy and Heresy podcast. Again, that'll be starting back up in August. The Jen, one of our founders who shall eventually hopefully return, can be found at The Jen Says on Twitter, streaming on twitch.tv at The Jen Plays, and everything she says at thejensays.com because she owns it.
And you can find me on Instagram under Dapple Dame if you want to see random arts. You catch me on Twitch as Ray Ino, and you can also see my art on DeviantArt under Ray Ino as well. REIAINO. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and good game.
GG!
Yay!
Okay, so that's that. I will stop. Oh, we should raid Mike. Holy cow! Did we get a raid? We have. I'm showing 32 viewers.
What just happened? Why? Why is this
What?
happening?
Wait,
Hi.
hi.
Hello. What? I'm very confused.
Dang it! Let me.
I
check
mean,
my
that's
phone.
great.
That's great. We can chat for a
It's
little
Sailor
while longer. We
Yeah.
wrapped up the podcast, but we can chat for a bit if you want.
I was looking
Hello.
over. I'm like,
Power
oh my
to
god.
man.
The world.
It's like the John Oliver bump. It's the Sailor Moon bump.
It's a Sailor Moon bump.
Must have been the Sailor Moon bump. We had a troll earlier too, and I missed what happened. I just looked over and like the bot had like
Yeah.
given someone
There's-
a warning.
Something about asking us if we wanted to be famous, and yeah, do you want to be famous? Buy followers, primes, and views on bigfollows.com.
Oh, and post
And,
so yeah, some kind of bot.
And Nightbot was like, "Get out of here!"
Bam. So as much as I'd love to have moderators so we could handle chat like more than me trying to watch the stream and everything else. Nightbot does a really great job, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, BioCow, for the tools.
Yes.
I think the only Showbot participation we got was
Probably me.
you.
I'm
Yep,
I'm cool.
Hacker
I'm
Cat.
cool with that being our show title.
Me too.
Which one?
Hacker Cat.
Hacker Cat. Yep.
Luna is the Hacker Cat. Well, and Artemis too now, and I'm okay with that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Although, maybe I'll find an image. Maybe I'll find an image of Keyboard Cat to put for our Patreon like episode image.
I do need an episode image.
Oh no.
I can draw Luna doing keyboard cat.
There you go. Anytime you want to do something, there is an option that in Patreon, and I can put on our site and stuff. Instead of just our logo, I can put images in those spots, and it goes out to the feed. I'm gonna raid Mike before everybody leaves because we're down to 18. Not
I
raid.
didn't draw a
raid.
thing today, so I can make that my thing to draw. I spent
if
today
Any
writing
of
up
you
my
want to
notes.
sign? Now it says we have 2 people rating. What the hell?
I don't know. I don't
that
know
was
what just
weird.
happened. I don't know,
I don't know
what
what
just happened.
Um,
Like nobody said hi in chat either, so I
Yeah.
don't know if that was just a random